Today, we are going to explain a movie which is based on a real-life incident and is called Manjummel Boys. This is a South Indian film that has broken several records and holds an impressive 8.6 rating on IMDb. The story begins in the year 2006 in the village of Manjummel, Kerala. Here, we meet a group of boys who call themselves the Manjummel Boys. They are part of an art club and regularly practice tug-of-war. These boys dream of taking a trip to Goa during the Onam holidays, but due to financial difficulties, they are forced to cancel their plans. One of the friends then suggests an alternative, visiting Kodaikanal, a hill station in the neighboring state of Tamil Nadu. The group quickly agrees on the plan. One of the friends named Suthi calls their friend Prasad to book a vehicle for the trip. The next day, all 11 friends set out on their exciting journey. After traveling through the night, the group finally arrives at Kodaikanal the next morning. The weather there is pleasant, and the friends are thrilled as they start exploring and enjoying the beautiful surroundings. Suthi then shares an interesting fact. There's a very famous cave here where a song from Kamal Haasan's movie Guna was filmed. Excited by this, the group decides to visit the Guna cave. When they arrive, they see that the area is already crowded with tourists. They have a great time exploring the spot, but Prasad decides to stay back and rest in the car. Suthi then reveals that the actual cave is located further down, in an area where tourists are not allowed. He shares that he had visited it once before and that the song from Guna was actually filmed there. As they discuss, they notice 3 tourists climbing back up from the restricted area. Inspired, the group decides to venture down toward the cave. Subhash comments that the forest officials had been fooling everyone by restricting access, while the real cave is hidden below. As they descend, they notice numerous names carved into the rocks, indicating that many people had visited the spot despite the restrictions. This excites the group even more as they continue their daring adventure. Siju starts carving Manjummel Boys into the rocks and calls all his friends up for a group photo. Just as they're gathering, suddenly, Subhash falls into a pit that was hidden beneath a layer of leaves. The group starts calling out to Subhash, urging him to climb back up, but there's no response from below. First, they think he might be playing a prank, as Subhash had a habit of joking around. But their unease grows when no sound comes from him. Suddenly, a swarm of bats flies out of the pit, startling everyone. Pit is pitch dark, and nothing is visible inside. To investigate, Suthi turns on the camera flash, but even that doesn't help illuminate the depth of the pit. Moments later, a rock accidentally slips and falls into the pit. The loud echo of the rock hitting the bottom makes it clear. The pit is incredibly deep. Meanwhile, Abhilash, who was standing behind, is in shock after the incident. He says Subhash is gone. He'll never come back. After saying this, he starts moving toward the pit himself. His behavior terrifies the group even more, and Siju quickly grabs him and pulls him away to a safer spot. Just then, a tourist guide appears, having heard their shouting. The group desperately explains the situation, saying, "One of our friends has fallen into this pit. Please help us get him out." The guide looks at the pit and warns them this is known as the Devil's Pit. Once someone falls into it, they never come back. It's better if you all leave the place right now. The group refuses, insisting, "We're not leaving without our friend." A few of them go up to call for help, while the cameraman suggests you should go to the forest guards. They're the only ones who might be able to help now. The group rushes to the forest guards, but by the time they arrive, the guards have already left. Desperate, they decide to seek help from a local shopkeeper from whom they had earlier bought supplies. But the man flatly refuses to help them. Instead, he warns them, "You don't know anything about this pit. It's better if you all just go back to your village. If the police come here, it will turn into a big mess." Just as the group is about to lose hope, the shopkeeper's daughter pleads with him repeatedly, convincing him to help. Reluctantly, the man agrees and accompanies them to the site. Meanwhile, Prasad and a few others rush to the police station to call for additional help. The site, the local man hands each of them a lemon and explaining this place isn't what you think it is. Keep this with you, it might help you. Suddenly, dark clouds gather and it begins to rain heavily. The rainwater starts flooding the pit, further escalating the group's panic as they realize the rising water could make the situation even worse. Meanwhile, Prasad and the other 3 reach the police station and inform the officers, "One of our friends has fallen into the Guna cave pit." Upon hearing this, the officer scolds them and he says sternly, "Tourists are not allowed in that area. Why did you go there in the first place?" The pit your friend fell into isn't an ordinary one. He continues, before independence, the British named this pit Devil's Kitchen. Sir Kamal Hassan's film Guna was shot here. It became popularly known as Guna Cave. According to government records, 21 people have fallen into this pit so far, and not a single one of them ever came back, not even their bodies. Locals claim this pit is about 900 feet deep, though some believe that if its depth were ever fully measured, it would be as deep as the entire Kodaikanal Hills. It's a pitch-black abyss where neither air flows nor light penetrates. The last person to fall in was a 10-year-old boy, the nephew of a central minister. The central minister even announced a reward of 15 lakh rupees for anyone who could bring back even a small bone from the boy's body, so that his family could perform his last rites. But no one found even a single finger of that child. After that, the police officer starts beating them. He accuses them, saying, "You've murdered your friend, and now you're just creating a scene in the station." They keep pleading, "Why would we kill our own friend?" But the officer doesn't listen to a word they say. Meanwhile, we see the rainwater flowing into the pit, and the group starts using wood and other materials to try and stop it. Just then, the forest guard arrives and tells everyone to leave immediately, but the group refuses to leave and lies down around the pit to block the water, hoping to save Subhash until the police arrive. Meanwhile, the police officer is under a lot of stress because the media has already caught wind of the incident. To handle the situation, he sends one of his officers along with the 4 friends to Guna Cave. But this policeman takes advantage of the situation. He stops the car at a liquor store and tells the group before going to the cave, "Get me a bottle and some cigarettes." As they drive, the officer asks Prasad to drive slowly so that he can drink comfortably. Frustrated, Prasad says, "How can you behave like this? It's been a long time since Subhash fell into that pit, and none of us knows what condition he's in right now." The policeman casually replies, "There's no need for anyone to do anything because your friend isn't going to survive anyway." After some time, they finally reach Guna Cave, where the friends are still struggling to stop the water from entering. The police officer arrives and starts going through his formalities. He calls out for Subhash, but there's no response from inside. He then says there's no chance of him surviving. "This is a murder case, so you all will have to come to the police station." He asks Prasad to move the car, but Prasad refuses. The officer slaps Prasad and says, "If you keep being so stubborn, you won't be able to leave Kodaikanal." That moment, the local man steps in and says, "These people came to our village for sightseeing. It's our responsibility to help them." For some time, the rain finally stops, but Subhash is still nowhere to be found. The policeman again insists that they go to the station to inform Subhash's family, but none of them are willing to leave the place. Just then, one of the boys hears Subhash's voice, and they all confirm that he is still alive. We then see Subhash. His body is covered in blood and mud. His clothes are torn from the fall, but he's hanging precariously on a rock, trying to hold on. For some time, the rescue team arrives. They estimate that Subhash is about 120 feet down in the pit. They throw a rope down and call out to Subhash, asking him to grab the rope so they can pull him up. But Subhash is in no condition to grab the rope. Despite their best efforts, the rescue team is unable to pull him up. One of the officers suggests there's no point in lowering the rope into the pit because the shape of the pit isn't straight, it's angled. That's likely why the rope isn't reaching to him. After this, the police officer orders one of his constables to descend, but none of the officers are willing to go down into the pit. They're afraid that if any of them go down, they might not come back alive. Then, Sixon tells the police officer, "I'm ready to go down into the pit." All the officers try to convince him that it's too dangerous, but Sixon insists, "Someone has to go down. If none of you will go, then I will go into the pit to save my friend." After hearing this, the officers agree to send him down. They teach him how to tie a note before he descends so he can rescue Subhash. Slowly, Sixon is lowered into the pit and he realizes that this place is really dangerous. Even though he's brave, he starts feeling afraid as he descends. Through going down 120 feet, the rope runs out, but Subhash is still not found. One of the police officers says, "This rope is 120 feet long. If he goes further down, there could be a shortage of oxygen, and the danger could increase." Because of this, the officers start pulling Sixon back up. Sixon tells them, "I can hear Subhash's voice. You have to send me down further. If you pull me up now, I'll untie the rope from my waist." Reluctantly, the officers agree to Sixen's request. They add more rope and lower Sixen again. Meanwhile, the locals encourage them, saying, "There's no need to fear. By God's grace, the rainwater has gone down, so there will be oxygen down there." As Sixen descends further into the pit, he finally sees Subhash, who is badly injured and lying on a rock. His body is covered in blood and mud, and he is unable to move his arms and legs. Sixen ties a rope around Subhash to rescue him, but Subhash, in his unconscious state, doesn't recognize Sixen. He loses his grip, and he falls unconscious and hangs limp. This causes the rope to slip from the top. Despite the challenge, the group manages to grab the rope. Through a tense moment, all the friends work together to pulling up Sixen and Subhash up. Subhash is still unconscious at the bottom, and it's very difficult for Sixen to manage him. But he doesn't give up, and after much effort, they successfully rescue Subhash. As soon as both of them are brought out, all the friends rush towards them and become emotional upon seeing Subhash alive. But Subhash's condition is critical, and his body is trembling from the cold. Some of the locals give their blessings to Subhash, while others touch his feet, as he is the first person to come out of the cave alive. After this, Subhash is taken to a nearby clinic for treatment, where Sixen and Subhash receive first aid. The doctor there says that Subhash needs to be referred to a bigger hospital as his condition is very serious. Suthi says that the local police won't let them leave, but the female doctor helps them get out. They manage to take Subhash back to their hometown for treatment, but they keep the incident a secret. They tell Subhash's family that he fell from a waterfall, which is why he sustained such severe injuries. Few days later, we see that everyone has returned to their work, but Subhash still has nightmares about falling into the cave and can't sleep properly. But gradually, he begins to recover. Meanwhile, Sixen's bravery becomes the talk of the town. When Subhash's mother hears about it, she becomes very emotional. 2 years later the incident, Sixen receives a medal for his bravery, and an article titled "The Real Manjummel Boys" is published in the newspaper. With that, the movie, which is based on a real incident, comes to an end. So friends, this was the story of the Manjummel Boys. Hope you liked it. Be sure to share your thoughts about the story in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. And if you really enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon. See you in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye for now.